Okay, so since we haven't learned in a while, let's do a global review. Right? Okay, so where have we been so far, right? So we started. Let's start from the very beginning. Okay, from the very beginning, we started with the idea что человек это целым элоким, правильно? Целым элоким значит что in the image of God. But he said more than that. He said элokim. The word элokim means bala koychos kulam, which means master of all forces. And so when we're talking about the person is made in the image of God, what that's saying is that all of the happenings in the world, any small force, any little force, spiritual force, physical force, all is connected to man's action, speech, or thought, right? Human beings, or human race probably as a whole, but the human race is composed of individual human beings. All of us together, we control the entire universe, right? Everything comes from us. God is just like reacting to us, meaning we send signals up, Hashem sends signals down, but we are the ultimate force of the whole creation. That was step one, right? The next step that was what he elaborated that in great detail, or he went to the Churban Abayis, right? The next big step was where he told us that the three elements of the human being, which is action, speech, thought, are parallel to the three layers of the human soul, which is Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, right? So when a person does an action, right, affects his nefesh. When a person speaks, whether if he speaks badly, like Torah, then he affects his ruach. If he speaks well, if he learns Torah, if he davens, then he affects positively his ruach. Right? Neshama is moyach and his main rests in the brain, and so a person mainly affects his neshama. Right? But then he told us that really, in essence, a person really doesn't have direct connection to one's neshama. Right? And he gave us this mashal of a glass blower creating a keli, right? And then he said, so the nefesh is like the resting air that's within the glass vessel, right? Ruach would be the intermediary step where the wind, the breath is coming out through this special pipe to make the vessel come out. Right? And the neshama would be almost like in the mouth of the Creator. The air that's within the mouth of the Creator, that's what the neshama is, and that's why it's called neshama from the word neshima, which means breath. When we said neshima, which don't think that it's referring to ruach, which is speech, is also made with breath, but that's human breath. The neshama of a person, the soul of a person, is really the breath of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is really the breath of God, and it's located. So we are directly connected to, so to speak, the breath of God. And we ended off. He brought a story in the Medrash where a child saw that his father was making a certain dish that smelled so good, and he wanted to taste it. So the father said, "Okay, here, I'll give you a little bit from my plate." And he said, "No, I want what's in your mouth." So the father gave him directly from his mouth, right? So that was a mashal. The mashal of the idea was that our neshama is connected to is right there in the mouth of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he also said, but the mashal was very precise. The mashal said that the child came back from school. Why was that necessary? Why was it important that the child came back from school? Because really the only way to connect to one's neshama is through the limud Torah, through learning Torah, because that's really the life force, right? We call Hashem Cheho Elohim, the life force of the world, and the life force of the world is only through Torah. That's the only really life-giving force of the world. So when we learn Torah, that's our ability to connect to the Neshama. Rare individuals like Moshe Rabbeinu were able to kind of like reach out and actually have a direct connection to their Neshama. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu is referred to as Ish Elokim, man of God, right? Because he had that direct connection to the Neshama. Most of us do not, but on occasion we have this Shabbos, Yom Tov, we have special moments of inspiration where we get nitzoitzes, what he called like special sparks that come down from our our neshama. But if a person would be connected and would be able to connect or closer to get more of those sparks, he says he would have this unbelievable ability of memory. He would have like clear understanding of Torah concepts. He would like all of a sudden be like, nirvana, whatever you want to call it. He'll have like this enlightenment happen to him, right? That was the last thing that we did. Okay, right? Then he went off on a tangent which we didn't understand so much, where he said basically he wanted to tell us. I think we just lost Oleg. Okay. So, all right. So, but anyway, so he went on a tangent. He went on a tangent, telling us that he went on a tangent telling us. 1 second.
Yeah,
So,
I'm good.
I'm sure you are. Okay. So anyway, one has this stereo effect.
Right.
One
and
side
this is being broadcasted on live on Facebook on that phone, and this is being recorded on this phone, and this is being broadcast on the Google here.
Right. Like anyway, so getting back to our story. So he went off this idea. He didn't mention it the way I'm going to mention it now. He said, right, but we mentioned the idea before from Arizal that the world, Arizal said that the world is a big man, and man is a small world, right? So whatever happens on our little, so to speak, our neshama, just like we have a neshama, which is the root of the essence of our being, what we are in truth, right? With the purpose for which we were all created. That's our neshama, right? That's our chelak of Hashem, so to speak, whatever we can say, our chelak, part of an infinite, but that's our individual connection to God as our neshama, right? Now, same thing when it comes to the world, to the universe, to the whole creation. God can be paralleled as the soul of the world, right? So just like we have a neshama, so too the world has a neshama, right? Which is the Creator Himself. So therefore, he said that the same thing applies on the whole world. Meaning, when we act a certain way, right? So then when we connect to our neshama, so the entire creation connects to its neshama, which is God. Okay. So that's where we are up to now. That's where we are up to now. So now we're going to continue from Perek Zayin, and now he's going to go from using these ideas. He's going to go into explain based on these ideas. He's going to explain the idea of what tshuva. How does tshuva work? Okay, and that's going to take us a while. That's pretty much the rest of this. I mean, the next few chapters is tshuva, and then he goes through that to explain how, and that's really how to structure one's avodah, one's service to Hashem is based on these ideas. Okay, so let's start in the text. The Perek Yud Zayin, the 17th Perek in the beginning, in Shar Aleph. Okay, Nevar inyan hiskashus hagimal bechinas nevar. Now we're going to explain now the inyan of hiskashus, of this connectedness of hiskashus, of a linkage of hagimal bechinas, of these three elements, neiron, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, echad bechaveira, how they intertwine with one another. Behu yesoid ve'ikar inyan tshuva, and that's going to be the foundation and the essence of how tshuva works. Okay, so once you understand basically that these three elements of a human soul, how they're interconnected, then you can understand how tshuva works. Okay, the zeko pri, and that's really the entire product. Hoser hachatas menefesh hachoites. The entire product of removal, hoser means to remove, hachatas, the chet, the sin, from the soul of the sinner. Uletahara, and to purify mechelas atuma, from the sickness of tuma. Okay? V'yizboinen. Now think about this, contemplate. Ha'odam kama hu tzorich lehashgiach, how much a person has to analyze, and contemplate, I'll call prote inyone avoidosoi leboires barach, on every single detail of the service to his Creator. Shetehei avoidosai tamo shlema, so that his service, you should make sure that his service is pure and complete. Kdoisha, it's holy, utahira, and it's pure, right? So basically, right. So the first step is a person has to think about how, how much he is, how much he, his service, how to basically, how to perfect his service before God, right? How much he's responsible. He should constantly be analyzing how close I am to the idea. V'yira, so therefore he should see l'fashmesh u'lemashmesh. He should constantly check and recheck. Tomid b'chol masav, always in all of his deeds, v'diburov, and his speakings, u'machshavoisav, and his thoughts. Shehema gimel bechinas anal, which are the three layers that we discussed above. Ulai, because perhaps lo hishlim adayin cheftzoi uritzoy no yizborach. Maybe he has not yet completed the will. He didn't fulfill the will of Hashem. In accordance to the root of his soul, bahasaga, in its grasp, right? So if we understand, again, going back to this idea, if we understand that each one of us has a shayrish nishmosa, has the root of our soul, which represents our essence, and our job is to kind of reach out to that root as much as possible and to connect all of the lower layers to it. So constantly, a person should be asking himself, okay, how in touch am I? How connected am I to this root of the soul, which is in the mouth of Hashem, so to speak? So how connected I am to God, right? Am I connected as I should be? Am I on the level that I'm expected to be on? Right? That's a question. That's a question that really a person should be asking himself all the time. So Kol Yomov, in all of his days, Yosef Oimetz b'Torah mitzvahs, he should be strengthening himself more and more in Torah and mitzvahs. Lahashlim nafshe v'rucha v'nishmos, in order to perfect his nefesh, his ruach, his neshama, mitohorim ka'asher nasonim, that they should be as pure as they were given to him. Achar sheyir be'ein sichlo, because he could see with his mind's eye, eich shechofetz hu yizborach b'chazda agodol heiti v'acharisoi. Because once a person realizes, thinks about that really, wow, Hashem really is doing the entire creation, right? The Creator created all this creation, and He creates this Olam Hazeh and Olam Habo, and the whole path, all only for one purpose. What's the purpose? That the recipient, which is me, should get this ultimate good from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So Hashem is throwing me this ultimate good, right? This is the way to get it. So, and He really He's kind of rooting for me. He says, come on, you can do it. And here I am, like, I don't know, maybe, I think about it, tomorrow, when time is right, So, Hashem is out there, like, giving me this good, and He's kind of like running after me. Come on, take it. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe, right? So when a person realizes that really that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's main purpose in creation is to bestow this good onto the recipient, so he has to realize. So am I getting it? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing in order to receive as much as whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give me, right? And furthermore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even to such a degree, we see that Hashem wants to bestow this good, that even He provides a whole direction of for the sinner to undo what he did, right? Because you could have said, listen, I'm giving you this ultimate good, right? Here you are. Okay, nice try. Okay, you failed. Goodbye, next. And yet no, we see that that's not the case. We see that Kosh Baruch Hu says, no, come on, let's try this again. Do tshuva, do vidu, let's fix this up, right? Then let's do it again and again. So every time, shagam im kvar nitba be'oimik matzuasara, even if a person is kind of drowning in the depths of evil, im kol zet tachzer kol dover l'makoymoy, if with all of this he could return everything to its original place, u'mekoyer, in its original source, bilti yidach mimenu nidach. There's an expression that means like that. So that a person should not be pushed off mimenu nidach, so he should not be completely expelled, right? So we see, so this realization, as a person has to have this realization that and ask himself, Hakadosh Baruch Hu wants to do this good to me. So, and this is the way to do it. There's this chain of that allows me to kind of go up this ladder that allows me to go up and connect to Hashem, to connect to my neshama, to connect to really my essence, right? And so, what am I doing to get there, right? And furthermore, so much Hashem Baruch Hu wants me to do this that even when I sin, Hashem says, okay, here's a way to fix it, right? Here's a way to fix it, right? And if you think about it, so the question, he's really asking a question here: how could this work? On the sin part, how could it possibly work? If you messed up and you destroyed all of these, like we were talking in the previous chapters, like all of the repercussions, the worlds are destroyed or darkened or whatnot. Okay, so you broke. You went there, you set off some bombs. Now there's like explosions everywhere. How are you going to put this back together again? How does this work? And that's what he's going to explain now. Okay, so here's how it works. Kiyadua. So now he's going to first explain again how the interconnectedness, how basically all of our souls are links in the chain going directly to Hashem, right? So that's going to be the main key to this puzzle. It's known in the order of the linkage of the worlds that the upper element in the lower world is tied in with the bechina, with the element of the lower element of the world that's above it, right? So we mentioned this idea before that if you move up the chain, so the lower world, when it goes up to its highest level, so that highest level is really the lowest level of the world that's above it, right? And that's going to be important. He says over here that it links with the upper world. I think he wants to say, and he's going to say it later that way, that it's really the same thing. The upper layer of the lower world is really the thing itself is the lower. So there isn't really a clear breakage between the worlds. There is a constant, like, ongoing transition. And that's going to be an important factor. V'ayin Zohar. So now he's going to bring, as usual, his proofs for these ideas. V'ayin Zohar Vayikra. Look at Zohar Vayikra. The Kulu Almin Miskashim Do B'do. All of the worlds are tied in one in the other. V'do B'do, in the other and the other. K'hai Shalshelis, like a chain. The Iskasher Do B'do, that has links, right, intertwined one with the other. Okay. Let's skip the parentheses. Interesting parentheses, but let's skip the parentheses for now because we can get bogged down by it. Okay, beside Keser Machos, and the idea of Keser Machos. Over here, he's going to introduce the idea of Esser spheres, the 10 spheres, right? So there are these 10. I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know how much you're familiar. So there's some kind of a concept. We're not so clear about it, of 10 spheres, right? So the upper one being Keser is known as the crown, and the lower one, the 10th one, so the first one is the Keser, the 10th one is called Malchus, it's called kingship. So the way I see it is that, right, from crown, so when you coronate somebody, you're going to make him a king. So you're going to make him a king, right? So from that step, from the desire to coronate to the actual kingship, there's a process which is represented through these 10 spheres, right? There's a Chochmah, Bina, and Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, and so on and so forth, right? So there's each, and really, if you want to break down every action, any occurrence that occurs, you could always break it down into these 10 steps. 10 steps. Keser meaning the beginning, which is the will to do something, and Malchus is the realization of it. We're just using it as the symbols that we're using relate to kingship because they relate to God, who is like the king of the world. But I think the idea, it could be universal, meaning there's a beginning, which is called Keser, which is the will to make it happen, and Malchus is the end, which is the actual occurrence, and then there is the process in between. Right? So right? So really, so that's what we're saying. Beside Keser Malchus, the thing is going to be important. Keser Malchus, which is the upper and the lower, they're really it's a 10-step process, but it's really one unit that has 10 micro steps to it. You know what I'm saying? Right? Because the king and his crown is really one thing, but the crown sits above the king's head. It's the symbol of his kingship, and kingship is the actual thing, right? So, okay, all right. So let's continue. V'chein, so he's gonna v'chein hu ha'inyan hagimel habechinas neron shel ha'adam. So just like the world, so far he talked about the worlds, just like the world's lower world connected to the upper world. Similarly, the same pattern we find in the three elements of the soul of the person. Now, any bechina, any thing of holiness, kolul me'eser bechinas pratim, is composed of eser bechinas pratim, of 10 more sub elements. Shehem hayud spheres, which is the 10 spheres of that of his. So the uppermost bechina, the uppermost element of the nefesh, layer of the nefesh, nechezes, holds to miskasheres and intertwines him a bechina tachtoina hasir shel bechinas haruach, in the lower element of the bechina of the ruach, right? So the uppermost of the nefesh is the uppermost of the nefesh is the lowermost of the ruach. Bechina elyoina shel ruach, and the uppermost of the ruach miskasheres in bechina tachtoina shel neshama, is connected to the lower level of the neshama. Neshama gamkein, this is an interesting point. Neshama gamkein miskasheres. So now our individual neshama is also has a higher layer to it. What's the higher layer of individual neshama? So we called it chaya. Before we called it chaya, but now he's saying umiskasheres umizdabekas bechinas shoyrish neshama. It connects with the root of the neshama. What's the root of neshama? Soid Knesset Israel. That's the secret of the community of Israel. So the idea meaning our individual soul, its root is in the communal soul of the Jewish people. Shehi shoyrish haknesiya shall kol nishmas klal Yisrael yachad, which is the root of the gathering of all of the souls of all the Jewish souls together. Okay, so v'chein al zeh derech, and so too similarly in this way, gam bechinas shoyrish haneshama gam kein miskasheres l'mayla, and really, if you keep going, it continues higher and higher, madrega, from a layer to layer, ad atzmos ein sof, until it really connects to the infinite, to the creator, the infinite creator himself. Okay, right? So there is what he's trying to establish here is that there is a direct connection from our lowest nefesh to all the way to the highest, through all of the steps. There's a direct connection there. Okay, so so let's jump a little bit, but let's say we're talking about the CEO, right? The CEO says, guys, we're running a big company. It's not doing so well. I have a new initiative. I'm going to introduce this plan of action that I think is going to work, right? So he implements the plan of action. The plan of action requires all the VPs to do whatever they have to do, right? And then it goes to the middle managers, and they have to do whatever they have to do. And then it goes to all the salespeople, and they have to do whatever they have to do, right? So on each level, there's a whole production that, right? Now, in order for this whole plan to work that CEO has, the lower guys are really doing most of the work. Without the lower guys, nothing's going to happen, because without those salespeople doing whatever the new sales that right, nothing's going to happen. The VPs can have charts and productions and plans and ideas and whatnot, but unless somebody on the bottom is going to get it done, it's not going to get done, because right, correct. But at the same time, when the bottom layer does get it done, who gets the credit for it? The CEO gets the credit for it, because he is the he's the
Initiator.
started the ball rolling, right? But at the same time, but we could look at sometimes when we want to analyze the CEO success, we look at him independently. Sometimes we'll analyze the Salesforce success, we look at them independently. Sometimes we look at the whole company together. They're still one unit, and they succeeded in this thing, right? So over here you have a similar idea. You have your nefesh, which is your lower part, and without your nefesh and your body, your neshama could be whatever, great, perfect, bright, shining bright, but unless that influence, that light goes down all the way to your lowest, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to respond, right? So you could, what I'm saying is, so you have this long chain, but at the same time you could look at the long chain as one unit. And then if you look at it as one unit, then you'll understand that even that the nefesh has a direct link to the neshama. Just like the salespeople, they were really only successful because there was a plan of action that allowed them to succeed, right? If there would have been a plan of action that was not reasonable, then the salespeople also would not be able to get it done. You could have a great sales team, but if they're selling a product that doesn't sell, it's just not going to sell, right? It only sold because there was a proper planning in the beginning, right? So what I'm trying to say is that what he's trying to say is that despite all of the layering, right? Once all of the layering does line up, then the connection is more direct than you realize. Okay, so let's see how that works out. Good. V'zeu she'omer Avigail leDavid, and this is what Avigail tells David, right? So Avigail blesses David, kind of. She tells him not to kill her husband. V'hoisen nefesh adoini tzrura b'tzrora chaim as Hashem Elokecha, and then the soul of my master, meaning David, will be tied, we loosely translated b'tzrora chaim, to the, I don't know how to say it, uzil of life, basically the source of life, right? If you don't do this, your soul will be connected to the source of life, as Hashem Elokecha, which is Hashem, your God. Right? Now, again, very specific words. She said the soul of my master will be connected. Well, which word does she use for the word soul? So, Rotzeloimer, she means to say, Shigam bechinas nafshoi, that even the lowermost soul, which is nefesh, will be tizdabek, will cling, kaviyochel bois baruch, will be connected to Hashem, right? So when a person is aligned, so again, if a person does this, where he constantly is thinking about the shirish of his neshama, right, meaning his upper connection, when a person continues to realize that he wants to reach out to that original source, to that original plug where he's plugged in, right? So then, and he does that throughout his whole life, so then even his lowermost elements are going to be connected to that source. Okay, we're going to see that how that lower element is directly connected to the uppermost element. Yeah, good. Truma. So he's going to show this from two places in the Zohar, that this idea is true. When that ruach, it's talking about ruach now, not nefesh, salka, when it goes up, ve'isatra, and becomes crowned, hahi nefesh miskashra ba'ahi rucha, then that nefesh, meaning the lower soul, it becomes intertwined with that spirit, ve'isnahiras minei, and becomes enlightened by it, or lightened up by it. V'ruach miskashra goy hahi nishmosa, and then that spirit is connected to that neshama. V'hahi nishmosa miskashra goy soif machshova di'ihi roza, and the neshama is connected to a thought. I'm not sure exactly what that means, which is a secret. V'hahi nefesh iskasharas goy hahu ruach ilo, and so the nefesh is connected to the ruach. V'hahu ruach iskasher goy hahi neshama ilo, and the ruach is connected to the neshama. V'hahu neshama iskasharas be'ein soif, and the neshama is connected to the infinite. Ukedein ihu naicha dechola v'keshura dechola. And so he is the beauty of everything, and he's connected to everything. Ila v'sat, everything that's above and below. Kula b'rozachada, all is the secret of one. Right? So that's the oneness. When a person is able to connect the lower levels to the upper levels, that's when he creates that true oneness of being. Ukedein ihu naicha de nefesh de l'sata. Not sure what that means. Right, and then he has a rest of spirit below, v'hainu d'ksiv, and so it is written, and he brings this pasuk, v'oison nefesh adoni tzura b'tzura chaim es Hashem elokecha, that the nefesh adoni is connected to the source of life, which is Hashem. Right, so again, the Zohar is using this pasuk exactly like we said, that there is an ability to connect one's lowermost part to the uppermost part, not directly, but when you align everything, so we look at it as if there is a direct connection. Okay, and similarly with Parshas Acharei, similarly in the Parsha of Acharei Mois, it says there Tanakh Siv, it is written, V'oisu nefesh adoni tzura, again this pasuk, Nishmas adoni mi boile. He really should have said the neshama of my master is connected to Hashem. Why does it say nefesh of my master is connected to Hashem? Ela kemoy de amron. Like we said, the zakoch ukehon tzadikaya, praise, fortunate is this the chelak, the portion of the tzadikim. The kula is kasher do bedod, because they're able to totally be connected with one with the other, meaning one layer of the soul with the other. Nefesh beruach, nefesh to the ruach, beruach neshama, ruach to neshama, neshama b'kudshabrichu, and neshama to Hashem. Ishtakach the nefesh tzura b'tzura chaim. So then we see that even the nefesh, the lower part, is connected to the source of life. Right. So that's what we said before. So once everything is lined up, then we not only is the neshama connected, but we can look at it as if the nefesh is connected as well. Okay. And now it's again v'zehu inyan, and that's the same idea expressed in a different verse, famous verse. Ki chelek Hashem amoy, the portion of Hashem is His nation. Yaakov, meaning Yaakov over here is used, the descendants of Yaakov, Chevel Nachlosoi, are the rope of his inheritance. Right? So the Jewish nation is compared over here to the rope of Hashem's inheritance. Why? Kiheim kechelek Hashem, because they are the portion of Hashem, medubokim kaviyochel boizborach, completely attached to Him, blessed be His name, alidei His kashrus agimel bechinas anal, through the connectivity of these three layers that we mentioned above. Just like a rope that's tied up. So the lower part of the rope is still connected to the upper part of the rope, and continues to hang down to the bottom. Okay? So that's the introduction. Okay? So how does that answer the question? Right? So the question was, how could there be tshuva? Right? If a person's okay, that seems to highlight the question more. There is this linkage. You messed up, you break the linkage. So if you break the linkage, then there should be no ability for you to do tshuva, right? Okay, so now let's see the next chapter. I'm dead over here, so Alia goes out of our...
I'll upload you. We'll catch up.
We'll catch up, I guess, yeah. So now Perek Yud Ches. Perek Yud Ches, 18, right? All of this is done from the great good and the great chesed, kindness, that Hashem wants to bestow upon us. Asher chofetz la'atztikenu, because He wants to make us righteous, lehetiv achariseinu, to bestow good upon us in the end. Lezois hifli eitza. So therefore, He came up with this idea, with this solution. V'kovam be'inyan zeh, that He specifically, that the soul should be designed in this manner. Shekol b'china me'agimel elu tizkasher b'china shaleho, that each of the lower parts should be connected to the upper parts. Kedei shal yidei zeh, because through this, yuchal ha'odam, a person is able le'alois, to go up, ulis kasher, and to connect, mimata lemala, from bottom, meaning from the going upwards, ma'at ma'at, little by little, so you can go from lower to higher to higher to higher and get connected. If you roiv iskoi according to his efforts in Torah, v'avodah is baruch shmo, in the Torah and service, with the haras liba, in the purity of his heart, v'ahavoso, in the love of Hashem, v'yiroso, in yira of Hashem, fear of Hashem, ad sheyalav is dabik b'tzorah chaim, until he is connected to the source of life, kaviyochel as Hashem Elokecha is baruch shmo lefi shoy, according to his root, umadrigois, and according to his level. Zois v'oidacher. So that's the basic. That's the initial picture. But there is another layer to this. Because there are many sins. When a person does a certain type of sin, we know that. So that's where this idea, the worst punishment that could be, is kores. Kores means to be cut off, right? Kores means to be cut off, specifically from this. So there's a chain, right? So of course, if a person does an avera, that's terrible. So you're cut off from the chain. So that's what the idea of kores is, or avodah, or destruction, chas v'sholom. V'inyan kores hu. So what is kores, right? What is kores? So now he defines it like this: shebechinas hanefesh, that the layer which is called the nefesh, the lowest soul, nifsak is cut off. The nichra is not, nifsak means interrupted. The nichras and cut off mishor she'elyon, from its upper root. The yinate kachevel, so the rope is clipped. Shehoyo kosher umedubak boyad heina, which he was connected to until now. Al yidei his kasher. So now through the intertwined linkage that we described above, right? So again, to jump the gun, he's going to say that only a part of his nefesh, being that, I'm just going to say it and then we're going to read it. So, being that the upper part of the nefesh, right, is really the lower part of the ruach. So when the nefesh gets cut off, it's not that there's a breakage between the nefesh and the ruach, but the breakage is somewhere in the nefesh, because the upper part of the nefesh is not completely cut off, because it can't be cut off, because that part belongs to the ruach. Because being that the uppermost part of the nefesh is the lowermost part of the ruach, so therefore you can't cut off, because then you can be cutting off the ruach, and the kores means you're cutting off the nefesh. The interruption has to be in the nefesh, not in the ruach. The ruach goes back up, and the nefesh stays down, right? So the kores happens between the nefesh and the ruach, but there is really no place really that's between the nefesh and the ruach. So he's going to say that the cutting off happens lower, and since it happens lower, so then there is a way to kind of regrow. So there is elements that are left. So when you do tshuva, and he's going to explain how that works, you're able to restore the nefesh back to its even in the case of kores, which is like the highest punishment, you could still kind of regrow back, because the root is never really cut off, and so because of that linkage that is in place. Okay, so let's see. Now he's going to prove that this is the case. Ve'is nafsho, right? There is a soul, meaning the soul that's in the ksiv that is written about it. That it will be, that soul will be cut off from before me. I am Hashem. My milfonai. What does it mean from before me? The loy sharia ala rucha, that upon that nefesh ruach will not rest. Right. So the element that's called ruach will not rest upon that nefesh. V'chad rucha lo sharia Allah. So when the ruach does not rest on it, les le shut fuklal b'madel elas. Therefore, it has no partnership, meaning no connection to whatever is above it. Right. So again, so we see the idea that kores, the Zohar explains, is the division between the nefesh and the ruach. That the nefesh is cut off. Okay. V'ayin shom v'ayin b'likutei. Okay, so he brings a bunch of sources where this is explained further. Ki v'zesh Omar Yeshayahu, and it brings from a pasuk in Yeshayahu, ki ima v'nei seichem hoyu mavdilim beinechem levein elakechem. For your sins, right? So the Yeshaya is lamenting the situation of the people, and he says, your sins are mavdilim, are like havdolah, are like what is it, a curtain, a separating curtain beinechem lebein elokechem, between you and your God. Hainu lebein elokechem mamash. Exactly, it is exactly what is it? It's not just a symbolic term. Your sin is, keeps you away from God. It's really, there is a direct linkage that's chopped off. Vos nidbas beim ke'atuma, and then the soul is drowning in the depths of tuma, the klipas rachmonu litzlan. Okay, so let's keep going. Right, so he's going to say also, we see he's going to say this later, that we see that the word kores is only used in connection with the word nefesh, right? V'nichrasa nefesh. It's never used in any other soul, ruach, neshama, none. Always nefesh. So we see again the idea that only the nefesh gets cut off, right? Ayin beitz HaChaim. Okay, so a whole bunch of sources which we're not going to dwell upon. Okay, all right. So again, a whole bunch of sources to prove this point. Next paragraph. Uleval yidach mimenu nidach, and so that a person will not be eternally pushed off. Gozer ritzoyne yizborach. So Hashem, in His will, decreed shelo yuchrusu chas v'sholom legamri kol hayud chelke bechinas hanefesh. That not all of the 10 sections of the nefesh should be cut off, right? If we, like we said before, that all of those, right? Nefesh has its 10 sections, the ruach has its 10 sections, the neshama has its 10 sections. So Hashem did not. He made sure that not all of the 10 sections of the nefesh should be cut off. Rak hates bechinas etachton, but only the 9 lower ones, meaning the one that's the top uppermost, that's the lower of the ruach, as we mentioned before. So michachma delay ulemata, only from chachma, which is the second sphera. So from chachma and onwards, that's what's going to be cut off during kores. Hema nichrosim, they are the ones that are cut off. Avol bechina ha'elyoina, but the bechina ha'elyoina, the uppermost layer, soida keser dilo, which is the crown of the nefesh, eina nichreses, does not get cut off. Why? Shemitzad veikuso veiskashruso in bechinas haruach and kanal, because since it is connected to the ruach, as we mentioned above, nidoines kebechinas haruach sheim bakores. So then we look at it as if it's part of the ruach, and therefore it has no kores there. As I will further elaborate later. And this is part of the kindness of Hashem. Shal yedei bechinas haruach. Now, ruach, which part of our active is the ruach? Meaning, is it action, is it speech, or is it thought? Which part of speech, right? So ruach is connected to speech. So therefore, he says, so now a person did a sin. He was machal Shabbos b'mezid. He says, I don't care about Shabbos. I'm going to do whatever. He broke Shabbos. Now he's God, me and you, we're not friends anymore, right? Forget it, right? So at that point, he has no connection to God, right? He's not connected to God, right? So how could he even begin? How could he even begin the road trip back, right? Where does it start? Really, what even initiates him? Why does he even, at that point, who's extending him that hand that say, what? Where does the regret even come from? How come a day later he's going to start thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that? Like, what? Right? So there has to be somewhere that initial first step that even begins the tshuva process. But since he's completely cut off, in the picture of things, there really shouldn't be that first step. There's really nothing there. But the answer is, again, so because ruach and also neshama, those elements of his soul are not really cut off. Mm-hmm. They really are there, and only his nefesh is cut off. So he's going to begin with his speech, and start saying, "Oh man, I really shouldn't have done that." He's going to first regret with his mouth, right, with his speech, and that's going to, okay, start growing back that nefesh, so to speak. Okay, so that through the layer which is the ruach, hainu al yedei vidui dvorim, right, through the vidu is admission of guilt, right? So which we had the mitzvah in this week's parsha. It's very interesting. And so in Parshas Noso we had the mitzvah. It says by the part in the Torah that repeats is stealing from a ger. It says the first step is you have to be svadatem, and you have to do vidu. You have to admit your guilt. So it's very interesting when Rambam in his Yad HaChazaka, he doesn't have mitzvah of tshuva as a mitzvah. He has a whole section called Hilchas Tshuva, but he doesn't say, mitzvah number so and so to return to God. Now Ramban happens to argue with him because we have in the Torah we have psukim v'shoval Hashem Elokecha, you shall return to Hashem your God. So there seems to be a positive commandment to return to Hashem, right? If a person sins, but the Rambam doesn't have such a mitzvah in his 613 mitzvahs. So the only mitzvah that he has, vidu, he has a mitzvah of admission. You have to say with words that I sinned, I'm not going to do it anymore, right? There's a positive commandment. What? Right, so tshuva for sure, right? And he has an idea of tshuva. So but tshuva seems to be part of vidu, not what I would have thought. I would have said that vidu, admission, is part of tshuva. According to the Rambam, it seems that tshuva is part of vidu. It's very, very peculiar. So there's a lot of discussion about this. Why did he omit this mitzvah? Okay, but anyways, but maybe according to Nefesh HaChaim, maybe it makes sense because the beginning of tshuva is really vidu. It has to start with vidu. It has to start with words. That's your only ability to kind of start. You're going on a layer higher, but the nefesh is still part of that layer, and so you're able to regrow back. Okay, so hainu al yidei vidui dvorim leifs, through the admission of words from his heart, shu bechinas ruach, which is the element of ruach, yisalo gam ates bechinas hanefesh. Then the lower parts, the 9 bechinas which are cut off, they are returned back in order to be reattached back to the layer of ruach as it was before. Okay, so I think maybe we should stop here. Yeah. Okay. So what did we learn today? Let's just recap. So we learned today that there is a that this idea that there is a linkage, right? That there is a linkage between the different layers of souls, and each layer has its own subdivisions, right? So that linkage which connects us to the uppermost part of our neshama, with which in one sense we have no direct connection to our uppermost part of neshama. It's there somewhere in the mouth of Hashem, so to speak, and we have no real connection to it. However, if a person is working his whole life to do avodas Hashem, right, and he's trying to reach up to it, so there as such he realigns all of his layers properly. So then we look at it as if even the lowest nefesh is connected, HaChaim is connected to the source, which is Hashem, right? If everything is lined up and he purified himself. And if he didn't purify himself, so being that since only the damage takes place only in the lower part of the nefesh, which does not reach to the ruach, and since the upper part of the nefesh is the lower part of the ruach, so therefore when he does the admission, the vidui, he is able to re-establish that connection through going backwards. So when he grows, he goes up, but when he does tshuva, he kind of brings it down. So, but only because that linkage exists, and that's why it works.
When he attempts to do the tshuva right before the vidu process, doesn't I hope that the person realizes that the nefesh isn't complete, since part of it, since there's no clear boundary between nefesh and ruch, right? As it was said, and when the cutoff happens, part of the nefesh goes up to the ruch.
Right.
That leaves, I guess, nefesh not fully complete, since
Right.
one
So
of the
he
levels is
right.
gone.
So often, right. It's like Odom Arishan after the Chet, he felt
That there's
disconnected. He felt a void. Right. So he felt a void.
part of his nefesh was gone.
Well, or he felt disconnectedness,
Okay.
and so he felt a void. But now, how do you go back? So there's that spark that initiates the process, and he's going to talk about that. I'm saying it starts with really. He mentioned ruach, but he's going to say that it really starts with thought, which is neshama. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's always a connection until we see that there is an idea where some people are so sinful that Hashem takes away tshuva from them, right?
Yeah.
We see from Paro and all of these guys, right? That there is a layer where you have so disconnected that there is no way for you to reestablish the connection. Meaning, if a sin becomes such an essential
Such a part
element of a person, so then it reaches as deep as it could possibly reach, and then therefore there's no little roots to start fixing it up anymore. It's a person can destroy his, the very kedusha, the very source of his kedusha, and then that's it. Yeah, and hopefully that's not for us.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you very much.